Do you know, is that Shakina Strickland? Shakina? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is the MAAC song right here.
I'll put a bullet in my head.
Sick of it, right?
Yeah, Steve, we're getting drowned out of you. Lady Gaga's blowing you away. You too.
Got it. Oh yeah, that was a little surprise.
Where was her picture? Gotta have her picture on there.
That was a surprise, yeah.
Yeah, get ready to see some video of yourself, I would imagine.
Oh,
they haven't told me, but I guarantee.
You're watching Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods.
Brian Georges and his Marist Red Foxes are the standard bearers in the MAAC, having won this tournament 6 years running. Coriel Yard is the latest star player for Marist, named MAAC Player of the Year last week. Today's opponent in the MAAC Finals, Fairfield, led by star senior Taryn Johnson. It's the Stags against the Red Foxes next. Welcome to the MAAC Women's Championship. It's the Fairfield Stags against the Marist Red Foxes as part of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. We are at the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Mass, where in the semifinal round the Red Foxes were pushed to overtime by Niagara before advancing to today's championship game, and Fairfield pulled away late to beat Siena for a spot in this afternoon's title game. And welcome, everybody, to Springfield, Mass. Doug Sherman along with former Marist Red Fox Julianne Vianney. Glad you could join us this afternoon with an NCAA tournament bid on the line. Certainly a lot riding on the outcome of this ball game today.
This should be a very interesting game. Marist, they've been here before. Every single player on this squad has seen a MAAC championship except for the freshmen. And on the other end, it's Fairfield. They have this particular Fairfield crew has not seen a MAAC championship, but they're senior-laden, and they will be looking for that first NCAA tournament bid.
Okay, Julianne, what's the one big storyline we should be looking at here in our one-on-one this afternoon?
Well, I think the key for Fairfield is Desiree Pina. She is just the player that really gets this team going. She is an assist maker. She's a scorer. She involves everyone. One of the most competitive guards I've seen in the conference. On the other end for Marist, it's Coriel Yard. She is the MAAC Player of the Year. She scores in a dynamic set of ways, and she's just a tough player out there to stop.
Starting lineups first for Fairfield. Caitlin Linney coming off a good shooting performance in the MAAC semifinals. Alexis Vasquez. Desiree Pina, who makes this team go. Taryn Johnson, probably the top post player in the entire league. And Katie Szynski, sophomore forward for Fairfield. And for Marist, there is Coriel Yard, Casey Doolin at the point, Leanne Ockenden, Kelsey Baden having a big postseason as well, and Brandy Gang, senior forward, looking to win another MAAC championship here this afternoon. Head coach for the Fairfield Stags in his 5th year, Joe Frager. He is a 1984 graduate of the University of Connecticut and a Connecticut Women's Basketball Hall of Famer. And the head coach for Marist, I already mentioned Brian Georges. He is a New York State Basketball Hall of Famer after spending nearly 2 decades of coaching excellence in the city of Poughkeepsie at Our Lady of Lourdes High School. And then you see the numbers at Marist. He has not skipped a beat. And we see that this season, Fairfield has been swept by Marist, but an interesting note from the game on February 10th, you see that Marist won that ball game by 6, but Julianne, the Stags dominated the glass in rebound margin with a 14-rebound advantage, yet they still lost the game.
They still lost, and that kind of goes to show what a good team they are for still winning, for Marist still winning, even losing to that degree on the rebounding end.
And we are underway here in Springfield, Mass. The first time that this tournament in the 31-year history of the league has been held in this facility. It's a neutral site. But we've got a good crowd here this afternoon. First bucket of the game, Kelsey Bainan.
Kelsey Bainan playing with a lot of confidence in this tournament. She had 20-plus points the last game. She's been dominating down low.
6'2 junior from Burlington, Vermont. Fairfield at the point, Desiree Pina. Ryan Georges told us before the ball game that he feels she is the most underrated player in the league. She makes this Fairfield team go.
He called her the Rodney Dangerfield of the MAAC, which is something to really be reckoned with.
Here's Coriel Yard, the player of the year in the conference. Marist is the #1 seed, wearing the home white uniforms, which is something they do for every MAAC tournament game. Quick 4-0 start for the Red Foxes. Casey Doolin, we talk about what Pina has done at the point for Fairfield, but Doolin has been equally impressive since taking over at the point for the Red Foxes.
Christine Best in the beginning of the year getting injured. Marist did not know who was going to come in at the point. Casey Doolin stepped up to the plate, and she has really done a terrific job and gained the confidence of her teammates.
Block shot. Bainan sends it the other way as Linney tried to score. So with 9 seconds on the shot clock, it'll be Fairfield basketball. And there was Casey Doolin, a sophomore who played very little last year as a freshman. Not a natural point, but she has taken over. Linney with a nice spin move.
Linney's just been another one that's been impressive in this tournament. She's been averaging 15.5 points a game in this tournament alone. She hasn't really shot the ball that well all season, but she's really turning it on when it counts.
And Joe Frager told me at shoot-around yesterday that as Gang knocks down the three, while Linney has a reputation as a three-point specialist, she is at her best when she actually does other things and puts the ball to the floor, as we just saw.
And what happens there is when she's able to do that and do well in that, it opens up her three-point game because she's able to get those shots that she really likes.
Szynski may have had it deflected by Gang. Red Foxes with a basketball. Coriel Yard misfires on her first attempt from the floor, and it's Fairfield basketball. Christelle Akanakac, a 5'10 sophomore from France, has come into the game for Fairfield. We also get a first look at Brittany McFarland. 10 to shoot. Pina the pull-up 2. It's an air ball long, taken down by Yard. There's Doolin, a 5'10 sophomore from Milford, Connecticut. Yard once again off the mark for 3, but the rebound pulled down by Doolin.
And a lot is going to be said about this game as far as who shoots the ball better. And it sounds very simple, but whoever can come out and play this game the best and shoot the ball from the perimeter best, and talking to Coach Georges prior to the game, is basically what's gonna make for the successful team.
First 2 points for Coriel Yard, making the score 9-2 Marist. And Fairfield still off to a slow start. Quickly up ahead. Fairfield coming back the other way. Linney. Tough shot, hit the side of the backboard, and the Stags will keep possession. Interestingly enough, both of these teams come in with records of 24-7 on the year. Fairfield having won its last 6 coming into today. Linney blocked by Yard. Pina spotting up. Nothing but net.
And Pina is a player that she is probably one of the most competitive players that I have ever seen. I got a chance to play against her when I was a senior and she was a freshman. And even then, as a freshman, she was a true competitor. There's just nobody out there that compares to that, the way that she plays.
Fairfield forces the turnover. Coriel Yard, the MAAC Player of the Year, helping the Marist Red Foxes get off to a quick start. Up by 4 early here in Springfield. Exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by Pepsi Max, 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. Back here in the birthplace of basketball, that's the Basketball Hall of Fame. You see just to the right, that dome with the tower above it. And it's in conjunction with this MAAC championship being held here in Springfield, Massachusetts. There's Brian Georges and the season that they have had. Brian told us before the ball game that certainly this team, more so than any other he has had at Marist, the phrase, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, has never applied more.
It's true. And he said it. He also said Coriel Yard, she's just a phenomenal player, obviously our best player, but he's like, she doesn't like to take that leadership role. And this year, it's about everyone stepping up, every single player. You never know which game who's going to step up, and that helps her.
Gang pulls down the rebound for the Red Foxes, who had, as we saw some of their season highlights on that last graphic, Marist has the 5th toughest non-conference schedule of any women's basketball team in the country, and that's been something that Marist has been known for in recent years. Kelsey Bainan with her 2nd field goal.
And Coach Georges schedules that kind of non-conference schedule so that in hopes that it will only help them do well in games like this. And
from your experience, only being 3 years removed from this Marist program, Julianne, did you find that to be advantageous?
Absolutely. Those games are what make for championship teams, because you're so used to playing the top caliber schools that come MAAC time, when it's time to win and time to move on to the NCAA tournament, you're ready.
Now Marist, again, is the team to beat in this conference, as it has been for many years now. Their losses this year in the non-conference to very good teams: Kansas State, St. Bonaventure, Princeton, Villanova, Hofstra. Among the 7 losses, their only league loss came to Manhattan. There's Taryn Johnson with her first touch, and she's got the Stags within 4 at 11-7.
And Johnson creates for just a mismatch problem for Marist. There's not really anyone that matches up quite well with her size and her speed. But I think it's important that Fairfield gets her touches.
Randy Gang with her second three-point bucket of the afternoon. 14-7 Marist. Fairfield is the number 2 seed. The Stags are 13-3 in league play during the regular year. 2 of those 3 losses coming at the hands of these Red Foxes. Linney misfires on the runner. Johnson has her putback blocked by Bainan. And then the tie-up comes with a possession arrow staying in Fairfield's favor.
This is just a nice rebound by Johnson, but even better by Bainan. She is in the right place at the right time, and one of the things that she does so well is block shots.
Christina Danella is checked into the game for the first time for Marist. She is a UMass transfer, so very familiar with Springfield and Amherst, where we are here in Massachusetts. Johnson left it short. Ockenden pulls down the rebound. And into the game with the basketball, Natalie Gomez. Ockenden with an NBA range 3. Timeout, Fairfield. Well, all 5 starters have now scored for Marist, and when they've got their players shooting like that, they're going to be tough to beat.
And this is one thing about Marist, is that they are so used to being in this kind of atmosphere with all the fans. I mean, everybody comes out to these games. Leanne Ockenden, you can't even give her any room because this girl can shoot the 3, and she doesn't have to be right behind the line. She'll shoot it 5 or 10 feet behind the line. And most of these Marist girls are like that.
Here's Ockenden, the sophomore from Syracuse out of Christian Brothers Academy. There you see the bracket for the Big East Women's Championship, which is occurring not far from where we sit here in Springfield, presented by American Eagle Outfitters. Down to the Final 4, the Irish, the Mountaineers. And who do you like out of those 4? I know you were at the Big East tournament yesterday, and Julianne, who do you think is going to wind up cutting down the nets?
Well, I got a chance to see Notre Dame play yesterday, and they definitely impressed me. I like Skylar Diggins. I think she's just one of the best guards really playing women's basketball right now. And I mean, UConn's really good too, so you really can't say, and that's why these tournaments take place. But I really like Notre Dame.
At the free throw line for Fairfield, Laura Vetra, junior forward who's come off the bench. She is from Riga, Latvia, and her father, Gunders Vetra, played in the NBA for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And playing role has diminished this year, but still a valuable weapon off the Stags bench. Rebound grabbed by Danella. Ockenden tries from the left wing. This one rims off. Again, keep in mind, the last time these two teams met, Fairfield dominated the glass. You see the fight inside for that loose basketball by Laura Vetra. There's Emily Stallings. She puts it up for 3. And a foul is called against Christelle Akonakech. Well, she has a couple of famous uncles you may have heard of. Her uncle, Luol, is an NBA All-Star with the Chicago Bulls. Luol Dang is her uncle. And Ajo Dang, who is one of the terrific players on the men's side for Fairfield a number of years ago. She's very close to both of her uncles and very instrumental in her basketball development. Ockenden goes down hard. She'll have a moment during this media timeout to gather herself. She and the Red Foxes on top of Fairfield by 10 in the MAAC championship game.
go. At the buzzer, Alex for 3. Good. All right, looks like Maryland had 2. And Alex had 1. Let's take it Alex had 1. We're going to get right back. Here's the other big game. Enjoy the rest of your school day. And come on. If you guys remember the championship continues. Don't miss the 2012 NCAA Division I women's basketball. First and second rounds, March 17 and 19. Hosted by Fairfield University, Webster Bank Arena. For more information, visit ncaa.com/tickets.
Okay.
Marist off to a quick start while Fairfield struggles from the floor in this championship game for the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And Julianne Biani, let's go inside the play.
And this is just Marist's motion offense where they just read each other so well. You can see that away from the ball pick, but Coriel reads it, cuts back door, comes back up top with the pick and roll, and then Doolin comes off, Bainan with the cut. This is all a motion offense, all kinds of cut action, play action. You cannot scout that type of offense, and that's something Coach Georges really, really impresses upon his players, is the motion offense.
Well, his resume is second to none in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference and beyond. He has put himself among the elite women's basketball coaches, and we'll show you some of those lists that he is on that is really incredible. And he is somebody who some of the bigger schools around the country have certainly shown interest in over the years. He's been contacted just last year by Old Dominion. Cincinnati has shown interest in years past, Northwestern as well. But he is an upstate New Yorker through and through, and he has spent his entire adult life as a professional for the last 30 years in the Mid-Hudson Valley, in Poughkeepsie, and that's where he wants to stay.
Coach Georges is very, very happy with the New York area. He loves Poughkeepsie. He loves Marist. He's definitely not going anywhere, and he's just a tremendous coach. I'm not surprised that so many schools are looking to get him. He's a winner. He's a gamer. He knows how to prepare his players and utilize them to their best ability and kind of fit them into his type of system.
Offensive foul. Darren Johnson picks up the personal. And Emily Stallings, a senior from Newburgh, New York, off the bench, standing tall.
Emily just doing a nice job moving her body over just in time to take that charge, not afraid of the contact.
Meanwhile, Joe Frager's Stags continue to struggle at the offensive end. Now 3 of 16 from the floor. That was just their second turnover so far. As Brian Georges told us before the game, Julianne, as you said, it is very simple, but he feels the team that shoots better is going to win this ball game, and so far there's no question which team has been shooting better.
And this is a new arena. Neither one of these teams have really played here too much, and Marist has led the way in field goal percentage throughout the season, but Fairfield has actually shot a little bit better in this tournament. So it really is about who can make shots in basketball.
Well, Marist in its semifinal couldn't make a shot at all until the final 5 minutes of regulation, and then they just dominated the overtime. How often do you see a final score of an overtime game 68-54? They outscored them 16-2 in that extra period because all of a sudden the light went on and Marist couldn't miss a shot.
Niagara gave them a very hard time throughout the entire game. Niagara was winning the whole game. I was there watching, and it was an unbelievable contest.
Gomez lost it out of bounds. Back over to Fairfield.
But in the end of that Niagara-Marist game, it was about who was going to step up, as you said. And Coriel Yard, Kelsey Bainan, the seniors, the veterans, they all stepped up and they came together and just took it to them in that overtime.
In that game, Bainan had 23 points and 16 rebounds. She's come back into the ballgame, number 23 in white, defending and pulling down another rebound here today. Brandy Gang also back on the floor for Marist. This Marist team is the 6-time defending champ in this tournament. Coriel Yard knows nothing but winning in this event. She has never lost a game in the MAAC championship and trying to close out her career in similar fashion. Brittany McFarland They get it to the baseline for a Kanakach. And Stags continue to be cold at the offensive end.
And a huge part of this game is really the fact that Fairfield has not, like we talked about in the open, Doug, is that they haven't been here. So some of this is early jitters. It is fairly early in the game, and they could be nervous. They could be overshooting the ball. We saw that last shot by Kanakach just a little bit far. And I know as a former player, I have definitely experienced that, where you come out and you're so pumped and you're so excited for a game that you overshoot the ball. I remember bricking a shot one time, and it was really embarrassing because it was like I was so pumped that I wasn't making shots in the beginning.
But then, truth be told, you did wind up being named the MVP of this event just 3 years ago. Linny with the three, and we talked about how she shot better in the semis, and Fairfield really needs offense from her.
She has improved over the last few years. She used to be more of just a standstill shooter from the perimeter, but like we said, she can do more than that now. She can penetrate, and she can stop and pop the in-between shot. And Fairfield needs to continue to do that. They need to penetrate and pitch the ball out to their shooters.
Casey Doolin missed on the fly. McFarland with the rebound and outlet. Although this is a rematch of the MAAC championship game from a couple of years ago, won by Marist. So the veteran players from Fairfield have played on this stage, like Desiree Pina. She's now got 5 points, senior from Plainville, Connecticut.
And it's important that Pina really steps up in this game and into her role and looks to be an aggressor on the offensive end, because her teammates really do look to her.
Well, she is a stat stuffer similar to the way Coriel Yard is for Marist. Pina among the league leaders in points, assists, three-point shooting, free throw shooting. Now a couple of empty trips at the offensive end for Marist. Leave the door open for Fairfield to get right back in it.
Yeah, Taryn Johnson may be the star that everybody talks about for Fairfield, but it is super pivotal that both players get touches. The inside-outside game for them is huge.
Gang strong to the bucket, a lot of contact. The whistle comes, and it's a charge against Brandy Gang. Well, one of these two teams will punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament here today. Coming up, we'll take a look at what women's NCAA tickets have already been punched. Welcome back to Springfield, Massachusetts, along with Julianne Vianney. I'm Doug Sherman, and either Marist or Fairfield will punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. The winner here today will move on. And there are already some tickets punched, and you see the 6 teams already in. Who off of that list? Obviously Tennessee. Congratulations to Pat Summitt and the Vols, and really trying to go and perform so well for her and what she is dealing with, and all of those folks there in Knoxville.
That can really add a boost to just the level of play of a team when your coach is going through a trial like that. So just like with Kay Yao and her players when she was struggling through her illness.
And it's interesting with the UConn men just the other day with Jim Calhoun coming back from his back surgery. That team, a completely different team than when the assistants are running it, than when you've got your head coach. Brandy Gang with her 3rd three-pointer of the afternoon. It's back to a double-figure Marist lead.
What makes Brandy so difficult to guard is that she's like a post player, but she steps out and plays like a guard with her front to the basket so well.
She's a 6'2" senior from Hartville, Ohio, averaging over 12 points per game. The answer at the other end. Fairfield cuts it back to 8.
Now, I did get a chance to talk to Charlie Cream, who does all the bracketology work yesterday. And, a huge thing about this game is that if Marist doesn't win this game, do they get an at-large bid? And really the answer is no, that this game is important because whichever team wins goes to the NCAA tournament, the other one to the NIT. So both of these teams need to win if they want to move forward.
Foul given in the backcourt after Vasquez missed the shot. Well, in years past, Brian Georges has had teams that had they stumbled in the MAAC championship game likely would have gotten an at-large bid, but as Coach Georges told us earlier today, who have we beaten? We did play the very tough non-conference schedule, probably the toughest they've ever played, and as mentioned, the 5th toughest non-conference strength of schedule in the entire country. The problem is they played some of those real good teams tough. They just didn't beat any of them.
Right, and that's the key right there. You need to have that signature win in order to get the at-large bid, and they haven't gotten that this year.
So they did beat Auburn, a Power 6 conference school, but Auburn is not an upper echelon team in the SEC, so it looks good on paper, but not nearly as good as it would need to be should Marist stumble here today to say, hey, this is what we need, or this is what we did to get to where we need to be in the NCAA tournament.
Well, that's something he's always preached anyway, as Coach Georges says, it doesn't matter, we just need to win, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Three-pointer by Pina misfired. Coriel Yard had an open look, instead gives it to Gang, who buries the baseline shot.
And you've got to get it to the hot hand, and Brandy Gang, she's feeling her stroke right now. Coriel doing a nice job just penetrating and finding her open player out there.
Brandy Gang with 11 points. She averages just over 12 per game. Vetra has it taken away.
And right now, Marist is playing the more aggressive style. On both ends, they're attacking offensively and they're attacking defensively. Fairfield just playing a little bit tentatively, and in order for them to really step up their game, they've got to play with all their heart and really leave it all out on the floor.
Tough shot by Doolin, and Linney pulls it down for Fairfield. These Stags have won their last 6 games. They beat Iona in the quarterfinals on Friday, 61-45, and then in Saturday's semis, defeated Siena in what was a tight ball game until the final 7 minutes when they pulled away. McConaughey had a huge game, 9.7 rebounds, both career highs. Linney, a little strong that time, and the ball comes to Yard. Bainan misses her 2-point shot. McFarland with a rebound for Fairfield. Vasquez trying to direct traffic. A kind of a logjam on the low post, and finally Pina comes back out on the perimeter. Vetra from the corner hits the 3.
And that's something that Fairfield has to do more of, is get into the teeth of the defense the way that Linny was just able to do. She got all the way down, and then she was picked up and she pitched it out, but that will enable her shooters to get shots off.
Gang, good position, and she scores again. That's 13 points against the 8th best team in the country in points allowed. How has Marist been attacking that offense and being so successful, Julianne?
Well, Fairfield is covering them very tight on the defensive end, and Marist is utilizing that by taking the ball to the basket. If you have players in your face, you penetrate, you take what you're given, and that's what Marist is doing. They're attacking the hoop, getting to the hoop. They're not just getting perimeter shots, but when they're picked up, they're pitching it out to the right players. Fairfield having a hard time as well rotating on the defensive end.
Shot clock at 6. And a traveling violation. That time the Fairfield defense better, and Bainan turns it back over to the Stags. Well, the Red Foxes going inside to great effect. The 6-time defending MAAC champs on top 28-17. Marist leading by 11 over Fairfield in this MAAC Women's Championship game, late first half. Tuesday, Championship Week continues with the first round of the Big East Championship presented by American Eagle Outfitters. Starting at noon Eastern, ESPN2 has the day session covered. Then beginning at 7 Eastern, ESPNU brings you the night session. The ESPN networks will bring you every game of the Big East Men's Championship as part of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. The entire Big East Championship is also available on ESPN 3D. Julianne Viani, I prefer to call that the Syracuse Invitational. But we're going to have a quiz on all of those. We couldn't fit any more.
No more teams on that screen.
As the Big East begins to fracture, we won't have quite as many teams going forward. But it certainly should be fun down at the Garden this week. Linny with an air ball. And you can see the frustration on her face as the Stags continue to struggle from the floor. Now 7 of 30. And down by 11. Danilo back into the game, the former UMass player. Randy Gang has been feeling it, left that one a little bit short. And now at this end, Julianne, what does Fairfield need to do to get going?
Well, as I was talking about before, I think it's huge that they get into the teeth of the defense and find their openings. Desiree Pina is very quick with the ball, and I think that she needs to try to get into the teeth, find her open players either on the perimeter or take it all the way or dish interiorly. But the whole problem with that is that you have to hit your shots. So if they're kicking out, they need to nail those open shots. But the inside-outside action is always pivotal, because if you're getting inside shots, it opens up the outside.
And without Taryn Johnson on the floor because of 2 personal fouls, you're not getting that inside-outside action. And so Linney puts up a second straight air ball late in the shot clock, and the defense by Brian Georges and his Red Foxes effectively stifling the offense of Joe Frager's Stags.
Having Taryn Johnson out of the game is really going to hurt Fairfield, especially this half. A lot of coaches, when you get your second personal foul, it doesn't matter how much time is left in the first half. You're out for the rest of the half because you've got to be saved and preserved for the second half.
Doolin, Gang, Yard, Dinella, and Ockenden on the floor for the Red Foxes. Looking for their 10th straight win and a MAAC championship. Nice lefty finish by the sophomore from Milford, Connecticut, Casey Doolin.
Right now it's just too easy for Marist to get to the basket. They're taking their time. They're controlling the tempo of this offense. They're not rushing, and they're finding their openings.
Nakana catch, strong to the hoop, left it a little short of the rim, and the foul called on the putback will send Fairfield to the free throw line, and Laura Vetra. Second foul on Gang, and so Brian Georges immediately goes to the bench. Coming up on the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report, our Big East women's semifinal preview. We'll also have Julianne's mid-majors to watch and our first half analysis as the MAAC championship game for the women is being played here in Springfield, Massachusetts. After missing her first 3 free throws this afternoon, Laura Vetra connects on that one. She's now got 6 points to lead Fairfield. Put the Stags down by 12, and that's the score that we'll have heading into the locker room. Our halftime score, the Marist Red Foxes 30, the Fairfield Stags 18. Stay tuned for the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report.
To make it a 2-possession game with 8 seconds to go.
Do not foul.
Trebilcock for three. No good. And the Red Foxes turn the table on one of the Hounds. The stunning upset at Stanford. Adding to a career high with 21.
Let the Fox trap begin.
73-59 to advance to the Sweet 16. The first time ever for the Marist program. The first time ever for the Marist program.
Congratulations goes out to Fairfield from South Valley and Ryan O'Neill from Triple Connecticut. Hey, Frankie Ryan, you guys both just won some tickets for the upcoming WWE show at the XL Center in Hartford. Don't worry about going anywhere other than mailing the tickets. Once again, Frank Ortberg from South Valley, Ryan O'Neill from Triple. You just got yourself tickets to an upcoming WWE show at the XL Center in Hartford.
Welcome back to the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report. We are at halftime of the MAAC Women's Championship game, where the six-time defending champs from Marist College have a commanding 12-point lead over Fairfield. And postseason success is nothing new for the Red Foxes. In fact, in 2007, Brian Georges led these Red Foxes to the Sweet 16, beating Ohio State and Middle Tennessee State to become the only men's or women's basketball team from this conference to reach the Sweet 16 in the league's 31-year history. The biggest win, though, came against the Buckeyes, and let's turn back the clock to 07 and take a look.
This one to make it a two-possession game with 8 seconds to go.
Do not foul.
Trebilcock for three. No good. And the Red Foxes turn the table on one of the Hounds. The stunning upset at Stanford. Adding to a career high with 21.
Let the Fox trap begin.
73-59 to advance to the Sweet 16. The first time ever for the Mariners.
And welcome back, everybody. And the woman sitting to my right was in the middle of that pile. You had the game of your life against the Buckeyes, and I know you get emotional just watching that again.
Oh, I do. There's nothing like winning a game that you're just not expected to win. So beating Ohio State was just so sweet. I mean, it sounds silly because you go to Sweet 16, but it really was sweet.
Were you guys tense beforehand, or were you loose?
We were extremely loose. I don't think ever in my career did I feel so at peace, because we really had nothing to lose in this game. Even Coach Georges said to us, you guys have nothing to lose. You're not expected to win this, so just go out and play free. And that's what we did. So it was just an exciting game.
Well, you know firsthand about successes for mid-major teams in the NCAA tournament. Again, the only MAAC school ever to make it to the Sweet 16. Who are your teams this year that could make some noise in tournament time?
Well, I definitely think these four teams, Delaware, Green Bay, Gonzaga, Middle Tennessee State, have a chance to make some noise. If you look at Delaware, I love Elena Deladonna. She is just a player to watch. She's changing women's basketball right now. She's averaging 28-plus points a game, and she's just a phenomenal player. But these four teams, I think, have a chance to really make a little bit of noise.
How about your alma mater? What are your thoughts about if Marist makes that next step? Do they have the parts to be able to go around maybe two? I know Brian Georges says that this team has overachieved like none that he's had ever before in his decade at Marist. Does this team have the chance to make some noise like you guys did?
I definitely think this team has a chance if they win this tournament and they go into this NCAA tournament with this kind of confidence. They can do it because they're used to overcoming adversity and getting over things that they struggle with. They've struggled with injuries this year. Christine Best, their point guard, going out, but then Casey Doolin coming in and playing extremely well. And in the past, this team has done that. So I think that they feed off of that.
Okay, we'll take a break and come back with more of our Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report from Springfield, Massachusetts. The Red Foxes on top by 12, looking to make it back to the big dance. Welcome back to the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report. Doug Sherman alongside Julianne Vianney, the 4th all-time leading scorer in the history of Marist College women's basketball. And so you are an expert to talk about this Marist offense. How have they been doing what they do here this afternoon?
Well, Marist has just done a tremendous job going inside outside. They're penetrating and pitching and utilizing the kind of defense. They're seeing the court really well, getting the ball inside and finishing down low. And then they're also getting it outside. This inside action is what's opening up the perimeter game, so they're able to just play with it inside, outside, hitting the threes, finding the open players. They're a very unselfish team as well, which helps them in the long run because it doesn't matter who's scoring. There's just someone stepping up.
And we update our one-on-one. And Julianne, the one key you were talking about this matchup, actually neither of these young ladies has shined that much at the offensive end today.
Well, for Marist, Yard hasn't really had to. She's had all her other teammates kind of stepping in. But I think for Fairfield, Pina is a key for this half. She needs to come through and really grit those competitive teeth and get some scoring on the board for her squad. Her alongside Taryn Johnson. Taryn Johnson had some foul trouble that half, and I think that just brought them off beat a bit.
Well, Johnson played only 10 minutes because of the foul trouble that you talk about, Julianne. She was only 1 of 3 from the floor for 2 points. Meanwhile, Desiree Pina, 2 of 7 from the field for 5 points. Nice job to have McFarland in the starting lineup here, and she immediately gets the Stags on the board.
And this early part of the half is really pivotal. Whichever team comes out aggressive and scoring in the beginning can kind of set the tone for the rest of the half.
First 2 points of the afternoon for the junior from Hamilton, Ontario. Gang drives around McFarland, and she is fouled. Let's take a look at our first half statistics from here in Springfield, Massachusetts. And the shooting for the Stags, the big story, only 4 made field goals from 2-point range, 3 for 9 from beyond the arc, but you just can't shoot that well in a championship environment.
You can't. And talking to Coach Frager before the game, he said, we really can't afford to skip a beat or miss anything in this type of game. We have to go error-free in order for us to beat Marist. And right now they're struggling. They're making errors by missing shots, and that will always cause you to not do as well.
After Brandy Gang missed a couple free throws, Fairfield with the basketball, and here's Taryn Johnson trying to go inside out for Fairfield. Again, they go into Johnson, who is shoved from behind. Personal foul against Marist and against Kelsey Bainan.
And I think we can really expect to see Fairfield trying to really drill the ball inside to Taryn Johnson and get her heated up.
Linney with a nice closeout by Ockenden to make it a tougher shot. Well, Brian George has said that until they got Casey Doolin into the lineup as the starting point guard, the Marist shooting percentages were really affected. They didn't have a true point guard to get the players the ball where they needed it, but Doolin has been able to do that, and you certainly know how important it is to have a point guard get you the basketball where you need it to be.
And Doolin, not a true quote-unquote point guard, was not recruited for a point guard, but she came in and she did take on that role. Hey, coach, I'm needed in this position, and I'm going to come out there and I'm going to do what I need to do. And her teammates have really gained confidence in her. They play the best with her at the point.
There are similarities between her and the Fairfield point guard, Desiree Pina, who she was recruited as a 2-guard, and because of an injury to another player, she was asked to move over to the point. Really excelled at the point, and actually, Joe Prager told me yesterday that he at one point last year asked Desiree to go back to her natural shooting guard position, and she said, no, I want to stay at the point. I'm good at this, and I'm comfortable here.
Yeah, she has the ball in her hands. She can be the playmaker, see the floor the way that she sees the floor so well. So that's why she likes it at the point. She can kind of make her own destiny.
And that's what Fairfield needs for her to do more of here in the second half. Yard off the window, and the MAAC Player of the Year looks at her teammates on the bench and pumps her fist with a big smile. She's got herself 6 points.
And when other players on your squad can step up and play as well as they've played for Marist, it enables somebody like Coriel Yard, who's usually the high scorer, to come back and to get her points in that second half.
Julianne, that's Sydney Johnson, the men's basketball coach at Fairfield University. It is a big day for the school because the women's team here playing for the NCAA berth at noon here on ESPNU, and then the Fairfield men will play for the MAAC championship tonight at 7 o'clock on ESPN2.
Taryn Johnson on her Twitter this morning said that it's us and the men. We're getting ready to go dancing. So they definitely, as a school, are pretty stoked right now to have both teams in the championship game.
Yep, and on short notice, the university has put together buses to get people up here and try to have a party throughout the mid-afternoon to bridge the women's game at noon and the men's game tonight at 7 o'clock. And so after the MAAC Women's Champion has been crowned, there's one more MAAC title at stake, and indeed it's Sydney Johnson's Fairfield Stags against Jimmy Patzos' Loyola Greyhounds. 7 o'clock tip on ESPN2 with an automatic NCAA tournament berth on the line. Desiree Pina lost the dribble, and it's Doolin with the basketball. Ockenden is fouled on the reach-in by Linney. Non-shooting foul, and so Marist will have it on the sideline. 13th foul against the Stags here in the second half. And on Linney, that is her first. And we need to keep an eye. Taryn Johnson now playing with 3 personal fouls. But if you're Fairfield and if you're Joe Frager, you really don't have time to put her on the bench and protect her. Down 14. Struggling as Coriel Yard starts to heat things up.
If you are Joe Frager, you can't afford to take her out of the game, so she needs to play really careful. She can't get that 4th foul.
Lots of issues for Joe Frager. Trying to stop Coriel Yard, certainly one of them. The senior from Reading, PA, makes it a 36-20 lead. The Fairfield University Stags down by 16. They're the number 2 seed in this tournament, but they lost both of their regular season meetings to their opponent. The Marist Red Foxes, the number 1 seed in the event. And of course, this is the third game in 4 days for Marist. They both had yesterday off, the way the format in this tournament with the men also here. You wind up having the Sunday off, but in terms of fatigue, what are you seeing, Julianne, from both sides?
Well, that was certainly a concern going into this game, is how will each of these two squads' legs feel in this game? And right now, I mean, it does look like Fairfield's a little tired. They just switched into a matchup-looking zone to try to get Marist to score off the zone. Sometimes when a coach goes into the zone, it does happen because of the leg issue, and you're tired.
Media timeout now. We'll take a break with Brian Georges, the 6-time MAAC Coach of the Year, enjoying a 16-point lead. ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Anaconda Sports, home of the Rock, is proud to sponsor the MAAC. And the Capital One Cup. Learn more and check the standings at CapitalOneCup.com. Back in Springfield, Massachusetts on a beautiful sunny day. That is the Connecticut River in the foreground. And downtown Springfield is where we sit here at the Mass Mutual Center along with Julianne Viani, the former Marist Red Fox. I'm Doug Sherman as we watch to see if Fairfield can somehow come back against the team that sets the standard in this conference for women's basketball. Marist has been in control almost from the start. They led 19-7 early, and the woman with the basketball, Taryn Johnson, has been in foul trouble from the start, has spent a lot of time on the bench, and she has more fouls than she does points. So that's a big problem for Fairfield. Big problem because Fairfield relies on Taryn Johnson to get her points, and her and Desiree Pina are two key players, and both of them have had a very quiet offensive game. So two of them really need to step up in the rest of this game in order for them to be successful. And based on the first 4.5 minutes of the second half, really nothing has changed from a Fairfield perspective. They're missing a lot of shots. They're short on a lot of their shots due to probably their leg issues and Marist's tough defense. Linney. Off the front rim, long rebound to Pina. Here's Taryn Johnson, first team all-conference. Quick burst to the bucket, and she'll head to the line for 2 free throws. And that's something I think Taryn Johnson is very good at, and they haven't gotten her to do enough of, is getting the ball with her back to the basket, turning around, facing up, and just taking it to the hole, because she can do that. She's one of those kinds of players that she can score with her back to the basket, but she can also score like a guard facing up. Taryn Johnson is a 5'11 senior from Brockton, Massachusetts. First team all-conference again this year, and you see the numbers. She's very versatile. And she's a young lady that Joe Frager and her staff never saw play high school ball, recruited her from her AAU team, the Bay State Magic. And she's a young lady who had 8 scholarship offers, but at the point where she took a recruiting visit to Fairfield, she actually committed to Coach Frager when Coach Frager was driving to a Giants football game with his son Kevin. Big Giants fan. They were going to play the Eagles. So he gets the phone call from Taryn saying, "Coach, I'm coming to play for you." And then, so that made the day good already. And then after the news of Taryn Johnson, the Giants went and beat the Eagles that day. So Coach and his son had a terrific day.
I'm sure he had a great day. Probably excited about this season too, with the Giants making it all the way.
Absolutely. You as a Giants fan would know, although you've moved out to Broncos country.
That's right. But I'll always be a Giants fan too. And this is just great hustle on defense off of this turnover. Taryn Johnson pushing it up the floor, but everybody on the Marist squad is back. And that's something that they do so well, is that they get back on defense. It doesn't matter what kind of mistake you make as a player. You've got to keep your head up and get back on defense. That's something that Coach George has constantly preached to me. Actually, one of my downfalls was getting down on myself, and I know I remember Coach George saying, "You are your own worst enemy. If you make a mistake, don't get your head down, get back." And so from that point on, as a freshman, I got back on defense after making an error.
Well, you also played a couple of years of high school basketball at Lourdes for Coach Georges, so I'm sure you've heard that message many, many times.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
6 minutes into the second half. Open look from the corner is left short by Gang. Nice ball fake by Vasquez. Out of bounds, McFarland. And so it's Marist basketball. You know that young lady sitting on the Marist bench?
Elisa Kresge, one of the great ones at Marist. She was definitely a tremendous point guard, one of my former teammates, as you mentioned, and now she's coaching with Coach Georges, knows the style of play, knows his mentality. She's a perfect kind of person you want on the bench.
You guys were part of the backcourt that in 2007 led Marist to the Sweet 16. You're also teammates with that young woman who just knocked down the three-point shot, Coriel Yard. She was a freshman when you were a senior. Did you see in her as a freshman what we all now see 3 years later?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as a freshman, she had so much potential. I mean, you come in as a freshman, you obviously have to get used to the system. Coriel and I would cover each other at practice, and she would give me fits in practice. She's got a great wingspan, and she'd definitely get me better. So I saw the potential from the get-go.
Off the steal, here come the Red Foxes. Doolin off the nice feed from Ockenden.
Right now, Marist is playing with so much passion and aggression. They really want this victory, and they're really showing it in how they're just not letting down at all.
Well, Marist has won the last 8 regular season championships and the last 6 postseason tournaments here in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, and certainly well in control here this afternoon. And again, unlike some of those years past where Marist would have had a good enough case to get an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament had they stumbled in the MAAC finals, that's not the case this year. They have to take care of business here today in order to assure their spot in the big dance, and so far it's been a real business trip here today, and where they struggled in the semis, they have certainly not struggled here today.
It has certainly been a decade of dominance for the Red Foxes. Coach George is just a winner in and himself, and I think a huge part of that is his poise. He's a very poised coach. He never gets uptight and riled up for these big games. He keeps his composure, even though he has those moments where he's excited and everything. He's a good coach, and he keeps everyone else under control.
4th team foul on Fairfield. And one of the neat parts of Brian Georges' background that illustrates that he is a coach's coach. When he was a high school coach, he not only had success in girls basketball, he also took that school's baseball team, the softball team, and the volleyball team all to the New York State Final Four, which to me is absolutely incredible. Doolin for 3, and the Red Foxes continue to build on that lead. It's now 44-23. Fairfield uses another timeout.
And Fairfield just trying to go into that zone. They're trying to do something to stop Marist. By switching into the zone, it's just enabled Marist to now hit those perimeter shots, and they're really nailing them. You don't ever want to play Marist in a zone, especially when they're hot like they are today.
There's the architect of it all in the Mid-Hudson Valley. And Marist traditionally was not a women's basketball power until that man took over. Now they've got a beautiful new facility. They've upgraded the McCann Center to the McCann Arena. And they've also built terrific offices and meeting rooms and locker rooms for both the men's and women's programs. And Brian Georges is a big part of the reason why that has been built.
And certainly one of the most exciting places to play in the MAAC conference.
Well, the city of Poughkeepsie certainly celebrates and supports the women's basketball program at Marist College. We'll take a break with 11:28 remaining. Those Red Foxes well in control on top 44-23. ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Anaconda Sports. Home of the Rock is proud to sponsor the MAAC. Welcome back to the MAAC Women's Championship game. Fairfield trailing Marist here in the second half as part of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Along with Julianne Vianney, I'm Doug Sherman. And before Marist, for this decade of excellence, there was Fairfield. Joe Frager has had terrific success since taking over the program the last 5 years. But before him, and before Marist became the dominant team, Diane Nolan was the standard bearer for Fairfield women's basketball coaches. And with players like Gail Strump, Fairfield has made it to the MAAC championship game 11 times over the years, winning 3 times. And really, now they have to take a back seat to Marist, or have taken a back seat. But Fairfield has been as successful over the 31 years of this league as anybody.
They have. They've done a tremendous job over the past several years. And that goes to show they probably even more so want to defeat Marist because of that. It's hard to go from such a winning program, getting to the MAAC championship game and winning it at times, to not being able to overcome this Marist bear in the way.
Now both teams 24-7 coming in. Marist won the regular season title. Fairfield finished second. And they both took care of business in the quarterfinal and semifinals. Although Marist very nearly did not make it here. Almost got knocked out in the semifinal round. Had to go to overtime. Danella's fouled on the shot by Linney. You can just see the frustration on the faces of the Stags.
The Stags have very defeated looks on their faces. To be down by over 20 points in a championship game is definitely something difficult to really gather yourself around, because you go into this game and you're Fairfield and you just really so badly want that first NCAA tournament appearance, and this particular team has not had that opportunity, and they've had to sit in that back seat and watch Marist get it every single year. So the frustration is just there in Fairfield's faces, but it'd be good that they don't give up in this and that they continue to try to overcome the frustration.
Canella will get a third free throw. There you see what's at stake. Fairfield has not been to the NCAA tournament since the late 90s. Meanwhile, Marist is a regular, and as we talked about, made it all the way to the Sweet 16 back in 07. And even though there are still over 10 minutes on the clock, you almost get the sense of the inevitable on the faces of the Stags. Nice backdoor look. Vasquez, though, couldn't finish.
The Stags just not able to really make any shots right now. They can't seem to get anything really going on that offensive end. No matter how hard they try, there's a lid on the hoop.
Coriel Yard. And it's Pina who grabs the rebound.
And at this point, if you're Fairfield, you have to look at the game in increments. You chip away in 1 minute increments. How do we do in this minute? How do we do in these 2 minutes? You can't look ahead too far, but you've got to play with a sense of urgency.
Blocking foul against the Red Foxes and called against Emily Stallings, senior from Newburgh, New York. Not too far down the Hudson Valley from the Marist campus. And that is certainly something Coach Georges has done well to recruit locally. You're part of that area as well. You grew up in the Poughkeepsie area. I would think that for people and for young girls growing up in that area, they've had this much success as Coriel Yard blocks the shot, that young girls who grow up going to the McCann Center, watching the Red Foxes play, want to become Marist Red Foxes.
They do, and a lot of these young girls go to the camps that we have, that Marist has over the summer. They love to get to know the players there, and they come to all the games. There's a tremendous amount of fan support.
The lid remains on the basket for the Stags. 49-23. Coriel Yard with 5 on the shot clock pulls the trigger. Now she did a lot of that late in the semifinal victory, knocking down big shots. And she is certainly playing with the confidence of a senior.
Got a nice step back shot. She creates space for herself. She can really score in so many different ways. She's a huge weapon for Marist.
Now she's the only Red Fox all time in the top 10 in school history in points, rebounds, and assists.
And as we talked about earlier, she doesn't like to have to be the center of the team. She likes to come in, and obviously she is the leading scorer and the central player, but Coriel Yard, she really does have tremendous ability. You look at that step back behind, in between the legs dribble, and that is not an easy shot to hit. She's behind the arc on that, so you've got to use a lot of leg. Strokes the shot really well, and she recently just hurt her ankle probably about a week ago, and she's been struggling a little bit with her shot this tournament, she said, but looks pretty good today.
Yeah, she was on crutches just a little over a week ago, but she certainly looked good so far here today. 14 points. Here's Taryn Johnson. Johnson with the blocked shot. And that takes us to our next media timeout, 7:45 remaining. And that's the time left between Marist and trying to get back to the NCAA tournament. Red Foxes in control, 52-23 over Fairfield. ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by Pepsi Max. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste.
Down 10 at half, we make a furious comeback. Chris Williams is fouled. All we had to do was make one, and we go to the NCAA tournament. He missed the first. He made the second.
The NCAA has a built-in theme song now. It's called I'll Take Manhattan.
My favorite championship week memory is 1993. We're down 10 at half. We make a furious comeback. Chris Williams is fouled. All we had to do was make one, and we go to the NCAA tournament. He missed the first. He made the second.
The NCAA has a built-in theme song now. It's called I'll Take Manhattan.
Welcome back to Championship Week by the numbers. There you see March 1st through the 11th, 114 games on the ESPN networks, 36 tickets punched, over 25 conferences. And let's take a look at our U.S. Army game track. And once again, the Fairfield offense has been stuck in neutral right from the start. Only 5 points scored here in the second half.
And you've got to give Marist credit for their defense. That's something Coach Georges preaches, is that our defense creates our offense. He's a defensive-minded coach. Even though we see a lot of offense here today, it's because of his constant preaching of defense. If you don't play defense for Coach Georges, you're not going to find time on the floor. And that's the way that he is. And it's been successful for him thus far.
Yeah, from the top to the bottom. I know the best player in the history of the Marist program, Rachel Fitz, who is playing professional basketball in Poland right now. She had to buy into that stuff too.
She did, and she did buy into it. She was a tremendous player for this team. I got the opportunity to play with her for 3 years, which was a lot of fun to have a post player as good as her.
Marist College with the basketball. The school is in Poughkeepsie, New York, a little over an hour north of New York City. Danella posting up, and she gets the shot around Johnson for 2.
And Danella is just an offensive type of player. She's an offensive machine, really. Coach Georges before the game was talking about how that is her mindset, is that offensive mindset. As soon as she gets that defense down pat, she's going to be on the floor a lot next year.
Well, she was a double-figure scorer for her 2 years in the Atlantic 10. She made the All-A-10 rookie team as a freshman at UMass, so clearly she can score the basketball.
She can score, but she's had a little bit of a difficult time adjusting to that defensive-minded system of Coach Georges here at Marist.
And bucket by Desiree Pina. She's now got 7 points for the Stags. Wide open look from 10 feet. Unfortunately for Emily Stallings, she couldn't connect.
Emily Stallings looking into going into her into being a coach, actually. She's going to the Final Four in Denver for a coaching type of clinic that she made, which should be exciting for her.
Well, she's at that point in her college career as a senior. Graduation's not far away. Got to start making plans and thinking ahead. Not everybody can be Rachel Fitz and go play professional basketball overseas. Well, Thursday on ESPNU, Championship Week continues with the first round of the ACC tournament. Action from the day session starts at noon Eastern. The night session gets underway at 7 o'clock Eastern. The ESPN networks will bring you every game of the ACC tournament as part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Championship games Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. We are here in Springfield, Massachusetts. Our women's championship game has been all Marist so far. We got the men's championship coming up tonight at 7 o'clock, which you can see on ESPN2, and that'll be the Fairfield men against Loyola University from Baltimore. Ockenden. And Doolin is fouled by Pina, and so the sophomore point guard will shoot 2 free throws. Along with Julianne Vianney, former Marist Red Fox, I'm Doug Sherman. And as mentioned, we are here at the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield. And it has been all Marist. 1 out of 2 for Doolin.
And this has been a nice venue for the MAAC conference. The Basketball Hall of Fame really close by. I had a chance to go to that in October for the preseason MAAC awards show, and it was pretty exciting to walk through there and see how they've done it up, and all kinds of jerseys, and it's a basketball person's glory in there.
Yep, and the MAAC, both the men's and women's players and teams from the MAAC are well represented in the Hall of Fame. They're the only conference in the entire country that has a permanent display in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame right here in Springfield. And that is all in conjunction with the 3-year contract signed by the MAAC with the city of Springfield, with Mass Mutual Center, and with the Hall of Fame to bring this Division I tournament here to this city, where in this state there's not a single MAAC school. But we're only about an hour and a half away from Siena. And Fairfield down in southern Connecticut's not far away, and actually for the metropolitan area teams, it's not a bad drive either. And so far, attendance for the first year in a neutral site venue has been pretty solid. 5 to shoot. And here goes Coriel Yard. She gives it up to Bainan, and her shot just beats the buzzer. Kelsey Bainan with 8 points now, the junior from Burlington, Vermont, who has been playing extremely well late in the season.
Marist just finishing those perimeter shots. You can penetrate and pitch all you want, but if you're not making those shots. Right here, this is Coriel Yard with a nice crossover right into the teeth of the defense, and she does find her players really well. She's not only a dynamic scorer, but Coriel Yard will find you if you are open on the perimeter. Kelsey Bainan has just had a tremendous tournament, nailing shots from everywhere, both inside and out.
Yeah, Bainan was the MAAC Player of the Week February 20th, and she's continued that excellent play here in the postseason. Her father, Bruce, played college basketball at the University of Vermont. And she grew up in Burlington in the shadow of UVM, but chose to attend Marist College instead. Again, shot clock winding down, and it's Coriel Yard creating for herself. 16 points for the senior southpaw from Reading, PA.
And I remember talking to Coriel actually prior to this game, and she said to me, "You have no idea how bad I want to win this game. My senior year, I want to come out on top." And she's playing like it in these final few minutes.
Well, she's known nothing but winning in the MAAC tournament. For her entire 4-year career, she has won every MAAC championship, both regular season and postseason, and she has never lost a game in the MAAC tournament. It's an incredible run that Marist is in the midst of. Emma O'Connor, a sophomore from Lynbrook, New York, now come into the ball game as Doolin lays it in. Timeout called by Fairfield, and both coaches now starting to empty the bench in what has been a very impressive performance by Marist here this afternoon.
Something very interesting about my conversation yesterday with Charlie Cream, who is the guru of bracketology for women's hoops. And he's 97% right most of the time with what he predicts. But he has Marist right now as a 13 seed playing Ohio State, the 4 seed, which is kind of funny.
Where have we heard that before,
well, where have we
Julianne?
heard that before? Exactly. And so I thought that was kind of funny going into this game that he had that kind of a matchup going on. Like I said, Marist loves going against big schools when they're not expected to win. You can't take this kind of team lightly.
Yeah, 5 years ago, that was the matchup in the NCAA tournament where Julianne Vianney and the Red Foxes upset the Ohio State Buckeyes in a 13-4 first-round game.
And a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was a neutral court, and that's another hot topic in women's basketball right now is which seeds play on the neutral court or not. So it'll be interesting to see what that type of game comes out to as far as where they play it.
Now, Coriel Yard, the Marist Red Foxes, 2 minutes and 33 seconds away from cutting down the nets. It's been all Marist. And while the dream ends for one team, the dream lives on for another.
You're watching Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. You're watching Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. You're watching Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods.
And along with Julianne Vianney, I'm Doug Sherman. And when you were a senior at Marist College, Coriel Yard was a freshman. And they say the best thing about freshmen is eventually they become sophomores. And I heard a story earlier today that when you were a senior, you were going through the scout to play Siena, and somebody said to Coriel Yard, point to the corner. And what did she do?
She pointed to the corner. She had the whole team laughing so hard that day.
Now, what was meant was the point guard is supposed to take herself to the corner, but she heard point to the corner, and so she used her index finger and pointed at the corner.
Pointed right to the corner.
Well, that'll happen when you're a freshman. You don't know.
Yeah, and I can't, if I could remember all the silly comments I made as a freshman, I mean, you could go on in this broadcast, but can't think of any. But it was funny.
As soon as I got here today and talking to Brian Georges, the Marist head coach, and the assistant coaches, I said, have you got any dirt on Julianne we can use on the air? And they all said no. There's mom and dad for Coriel Yard, the proud parents, and there's the ecstatic daughter. She's going to finish her college career perfect in MAAC tournament play. 2 minutes left in regulation. Caroline Feeney's come into the game for Marist. And there's the other side of it, although Fairfield will likely go on and play in the women's NIT. They're in the midst of a terrific season. They've won 6 in a row, and they are 24-7 And if they are to play another postseason game, they'd have another opportunity to match their program record for wins in a season at 25, and that certainly is a big accomplishment.
They have exceeded the expectations of Coach Prager this year. They really have. They've done well.
Well, Coach Prager has said we are not as talented as many of the other teams we face, especially in this matchup. He said he felt that way. But this team has maxed its potential, and you can't often say that if you're a coach, and that's got to be as gratifying as anything because you haven't left anything on the table.
You haven't. If you've just given it your all and you know that there was nothing left to give, then you can't really complain. You can't tell the girls I'm not happy about how you did this year because they gave it all that they had. It's when you have to live in that regret, when you feel like you didn't give it all you have, that you can walk away with your head down. But these girls can't walk away with their head down. They've had a tremendous season.
And it's good to see Sarah Paulus on the floor, number 3 in red. She is the younger sister of Greg Paulus, the former Duke point guard, who also played a year of football at Syracuse as a quarterback and just part of a marvelous athletic family from upstate New York.
Greg Paulus, I used to like watching him play at Duke. He was a feisty little guard. Really got it done out there, passing and shooting wise. I liked him as a guard.
Now, all 6 of her brothers went on to play Division I athletics in one sport or another. And Sarah is a junior, 5'8" junior. Gomez has to hoist it up, and it's a shot clock violation. And so Fairfield gets it back. But there's the young lady who went to Christian Brothers Academy, where actually she was a high school teammate of Leanne Ockenden, her opponent from Marist today. And there's the family. Proud set of parents in the middle, and there you see Greg Paulus, the most noteworthy in terms of national recognition. When you're the point guard at Duke, from the first day you walk on campus, you get to be known.
And Sarah must have really gotten tougher. She was with all brothers, so that must have helped her with her toughness as an athlete.
No question about that. The fans for Marist College, who've made the trip here to Springfield from Poughkeepsie, New York, on their feet in the final 20 seconds. Feely flings it up. Now she is trying to score her first career field goal. She's a senior from Rye, New York. She's scored from the free throw line a number of times, but she is 0 for 12 from the floor in her career. So that's why her teammates are trying so desperately to get her a shot. Let's hope she knocks down the free throws, but she wants to get a field goal attempt here in the final 17 seconds.
And that's something that Marist has always been. I know when I was playing on Marist, anytime there was a player that hadn't scored yet, it was so important to all of us that that player scored. So it's pretty funny. It's exciting to see. Well,
don't know now if she'll get another attempt at a field goal, but into the ball game on a championship day. And now Marist can just let the clock run out on what is a 7th straight tournament championship in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. They've got this routine down pat. Meanwhile, Taryn Johnson and the Fairfield Stags, who played Marist so tough in their 2 regular season meetings, just didn't have it here today.
They didn't have it. They were not quite matched up right enough, and Marist just took it at them and gave it all they had. Marist takes care of business, and that's what they did today.
Well, what's that feeling like? As we have Brian Georges coming over. You certainly went through this a number of times, Julianne. What's it like to be on the floor at this point, getting ready to cut down the nets? Oh,
Coach Georges is just excited right now. I mean, it never gets old because every single year you win a MAAC conference championship. It doesn't get old. You can't win too often. So the excitement going on right now for all these girls it's definitely apparent.
We're going to try and get Brian Georges over to the table here. Get the thoughts of the man who has built this program almost from scratch into a mid-major power, and they are now MAAC tournament champions for a 7th straight time. some of the faces of the parents, Mom and Dad Yard, Coriel's parents. And Coach Georges, congratulations once again. I saw as you were coming over, it's another emotional time. It certainly doesn't get old to win another championship.
No, it doesn't.
What are the emotions that you're feeling? We've been talking to Julianne about what it's like to win in this circumstance. What's it like to win for you here again today?
Well, you know, this group just never ceased to amaze me.
I know you told us beforehand that they've overachieved in your eyes.
Yeah, they have. I think the thing I'm most proud of them is they saved their best for last. I mean, we played as great a defense as we've played all year. Erin Ledger just did an incredible job on the scout. You know, she knows Fairfield, I think, almost better than Fairfield knows each other. She's had that scout ever since she's been an assistant coach. Great job today, but it takes the kids to execute it. Everybody came to play today. They showed that they've been here before, that they've been in the big game, and they've been successful. Again, everybody stepped up. We got out to a good start. I can't say enough about this group.
And Coach Georges, what made this team unique this year? You've been through so many of these championship games, but we talked about it a little bit earlier before the game. But what makes this team special?
I think the amount of adversity they've overcome. You know, losing Christine Best, having all those people graduate, having a key player transfer out to go to a bigger time program. And these kids, you know, they knew they were picked preseason number one, but most people were licking their chops for this thing. And these people just stepped up and game in and game out. You know, we had the type of game that Fairfield had today offensively against BU right after Christine got hurt. Casey Doolin stepped in and just did an absolutely wonderful job.
Well, congratulations, Brian, on another MAAC championship, and thank you for stopping by for a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
All right, that's Brian Georges, the victorious coach for the Marist Red Foxes, and the dominance continues. 9 consecutive regular season titles. They've now won 8 of the last 9 MAAC tournament championships. And the young lady who was the regular season Player of the Year in the conference, and she is our Pepsi Max Player of the Game with Coriel Yard. And here's Coriel. Congratulations. We were just talking about the fact you've never lost a game in your entire college career at the MAAC tournament. What's it like to win your 4th straight title?
Oh, it feels so good. I mean, we worked so hard over the season, and to end like this in the MAAC tournament, it's all we wanted.
Were you surprised how easily it came today?
Yeah. Fairfield's a tough team, and we always give them our best game, and we were just really motivated. I mean, especially after going down 13 in Niagara and having to fight back and go into overtime. It was just good to get out early and get a good win.
Now, you were a freshman when Julianne was a senior, and I heard a story today before the ball game that the team was going through the scout for a Siena game when you were a freshman, and somebody told you that the point had to go to the corner. Point to the corner. And what did you do?
I pointed.
We told that story in the broadcast. I hope you don't mind. It was funny. It gave us a laugh.
No, that will never get told.
What's it like for you to be able to be part of the Marist legacy and just to continue on what Brian Georges started a decade ago?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's always a team win. And just to be part of it, I'm honored.
And before the game, you and I were talking, and you said to me, Jules, I just want to win another championship game my senior year. How did this year compare to any of the years past?
It's a lot. I mean, the girls are looking at us like, we want to win this for you. We want to win this for you. And they definitely showed it. They came through in the tournament. And to win my senior year, it's all I could ask for.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations on another MAAC championship and for being our Pepsi Max Player of the Game.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Coriel Yard of the Marist Red Foxes. They win the MAAC championship in 2012. Once again, our final score, 61-35. The Red Foxes beat the Stags. When we come back, we'll have more of our championship coverage from Springfield, Massachusetts.
Women's Basketball Committee. Tim Murray from Marist College.
Tracy Murphy from Canisius College. And Karen Tership from Radford University. Join.
Fairfield, Caitlin Linney.
There's the celebration moments ago as the Marist Red Foxes won the MAAC tournament for the 7th straight year. And they are just about to cut down those nets, as is part of the fun for every conference tournament winner. And the fun will continue here in Springfield, Massachusetts tonight. The men's championship coming up 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. It'll be the Fairfield Stags against the Loyola Greyhounds. So Sidney Johnson's men's team from Fairfield will try to do what the women's team this afternoon could not. And again, there will be an automatic NCAA tournament berth on the line. Meanwhile, the Big East Women's Championship continues tonight on ESPNU. Championship week with the semifinals of the Big East Women's Championship presented by American Eagle Outfitters. Beginning at 6 o'clock Eastern, 5th-seeded West Virginia versus number 1 seed Notre Dame. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern, Connecticut takes on St. John's. It's part of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. And welcome back one last time here in Springfield, Mass. And Julianne Vianney, final thoughts on the ongoing success for Marist. Your alma mater gets another win here today.
Marist just getting their 7th straight MAAC win. Really, there's no words to really come by with that. They're just continuing their success and looking forward to another NCAA tournament.
And there's your former teammate, Coriel Yard, and MAAC Commissioner Rich Enser, Tim Murray, the athletic director at Marist College, all part of the building of this program that is the standard bearer here in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, and that certainly continued here this afternoon with a dominating 61-35 victory over Fairfield. That'll do it from the Mass Mutual Center here in Springfield. 61-35. Marist beats Fairfield for the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. For Julianne Vianney and our entire ESPNU crew, I'm Doug Sherman. Coming up next, Crunch Time, followed by the West Coast Women's Championship. It'll be Brigham Young University against the 20th ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs. The proceeding has been an exclusive presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So long from Springfield, Massachusetts.
Kelsey Beenan. Christina Danella. Casey Doolin. Caroline Feely. Maggie Gallagher. Brandy Gang. Suzette Garnett.